Hello, and welcome to another episode of
Talk, Walk, and Dance Dementia. Hello, and welcome to Talk, Walk, and Dance Dementia, where we cover many subjects, helping us to be better caregivers and helping people to understand those who are living in the zone and dancing the dance of dementia. So today we thought what we would do is share some of our favorite books, which truly made huge differences in our ways of interacting with our mom who had dementia. So I'll start with one and then you'll do it like back and forth.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
So first of all, I just think this is such an amazing book. I hope it's not. There you go. Learning to Speak Alzheimer's by Joanne Coste. And as in many things in life, those who have to experience something firsthand are those who come up with fantastic solutions to problems that occur if you try to keep doing what we call reality-based orientation for people who are living with dementia. So Joanne was actually pregnant with her fourth child when she started to observe that her husband was having forgetfulness and symptoms, and sure to come to find out he did have dementia and then subsequently had a stroke. And by the time that little baby who she was pregnant with was 4 years old and her oldest was 16 years old, her husband passed away after several years of living with an altered reality, meaning dementia, and he also had a stroke. So what she came up with is just amazing. And the book is about wonderful coping skills and about helping the person living with dementia have more of a friendly environment, habilitation, where that person can have a place that they understand what's happening around them. I just can't speak highly enough for that book. It really made a huge difference in my being with my mother and understanding what she was going through. And you can find it, of course, on Amazon. And I'm a big believer of Abe Books, where you can get used books at very reasonable prices. So now Denise is going to tell us about a book that made a difference in her life, our life.
Yes, this is a book by author and by expert on dementia communication. Her name is Naomi Feil. You pronounced F-E, just like file, like you're filing something, but it's a F-E-I-L. And this book is so incredible when it comes to using the technique that she calls it validation therapy, but the book is a validation breakthrough. And this comes from an entire lifetime of working with the elderly. She was born to parents who managed, I believe they may have been psychologists, but they were managing an old folks home, nursing home, and she was raised in the nursing home surrounded by the elderly. And then later on she became a social worker, and she started just recognizing patterns in how to communicate with people that have dementia and how to reorient them. And it isn't psychotherapy, because psychotherapy takes some sort of an understanding of the individual, and the individual has to be able to interact and understand themselves in psychotherapy. But with validation therapy, you are meeting the person where they're at. You are validating their emotions from an emotional level. You are understanding their history. And then after that, you can reorient them by asking specific questions. We used this on my mother, and it was life-changing. It gave me such a level of confidence when my mother would be doing sundowning and walking around the middle of the night, when she would try to take the car in the middle of the night, which she actually did. It's a whole other video that we could go on.
We'll make an episode on that.
There was a national search for her, but we found her. But all of those things gave me such confidence in working with Mom. Not only that, I was able to go to her seminar. I was able to meet Naomi Feil. I was able to work with her directly, and I was able to have her as an email buddy. she's just been amazing, and she's not that young. Um,
And you can find many of her resources online. I mean, she's just really known. It's groundbreaking. And
Groundbreaking work.
I think we need to say it's a communication technique. It's a
Yes, it
huge
is.
communication
There's the
technique,
book again.
and it opens doors to our loved ones' experience.
So this is, for me, this was life-changing book, and actually a life-changing path for me in meeting her and in reading her work. It's just fabulous. You can find her all over the internet. So Naomi Feil, Validation Breakthrough, fabulous book.
Oh, and this one sort of goes along with that. This is sort of became my Bible. It's called Contented Dementia, and it's put together by a wonderful psychotherapist named Oliver James. But it was actually his mother-in-law's system that she discovered again, and they're from England, by the way, when her mother, Dorothy, had Alzheimer's. And in this book, the mother's name was Penny, the mother-in-law of Oliver, Penny, who came up with a breakthrough for her mother, Dorothy. Anyway, she says, don't ask questions. So I'm not saying what Denise I'm not contradicting it, because we discovered that a combination of when to ask questions and when not was really a perfect balance for us. But one of the main things in this book is about not asking questions. And I was just telling Denise a little bit more about it, because Denise and I both have backgrounds in theater, in performance, acting, improvisation.
Yes.
Although she is the comedian in the family, I am not. But can you tell who the older sister is? Anyway, what I loved is in this Contented Dementia, Penny came up with a system where they call the person the client, whether they're in their home or if they're in a facility. Then what our job is, either as their home loved one caregiver or in the facility as a worker in a facility, what we need to do is sort of be like FBI profilers. And of course, if you're a loved one, you have a head start on that because you know their history. But you need to take the person's history. You need to know things like, well, what did they do in their lives? What are the names of their closest loved ones? And then you as the person doing this, practicing this program, you keep a notebook on your loved one, and you start with, what is one of their main themes? Do they have a secondary medical story, which comes in handy, very much in handy, when you're discussing with your loved one about some of the symptoms and things that they're going through, and to be able to create a contented atmosphere that's not charged with negative connotations, like you have Alzheimer's, your husband died 30 years ago. So what you do is you want to keep that person in a contented atmosphere always by the way you interact with them. But you have got to do your homework and know what that person's history is. So then you are armed with everything you need, all the ingredients you need for making that wonderful recipe of contentment.
And it's just a comment on that. Yeah. It's very much in alignment with validation therapy also, because one of the main things that Naomi says is that you must know the person's history. You must know it.
Tell that thing you just told me. I want to hear it.
So there's an example. There's an example in the book, and
in Naomi's book.
Yeah, and she would come in as a consultant, because sometimes there'd be nursing homes that are like they can't explain the behavior. If you don't understand the history, you can't explain the behavior. But what Naomi says, there is always a reason for the behavior. Always a reason. So it's our job to find out their history. Now, there's an example of a client that was in a nursing home, and the staff didn't know what to do with him. He was in his upper 80s, had dementia, and would have his breakfast, and then he would go to his room and he'd lay under his bed. And every day he would do the same thing at the exact same time. He would lay under his bed. So the first thing that Naomi asked when she came in, it took her probably 3 minutes to figure out what was going on. He was doing it for about a year. They didn't know
Perplexed.
What to do. They were. So she said, well, what's his occupational history? And they looked and they said, well, we don't know. They didn't know his history. And he was a mechanic. He was a car mechanic. So in his mind, he was going to work after breakfast.
Hey, he's got to go to work every day.
It was totally normal for him. So she says to understand the history, and then when speaking with them, always match them emotionally wherever they're at that moment. So that's how our theater background, because when you're doing improvisation, acting improvisation, you don't know what the person's going to throw at you, so you have to match them emotionally, and then you have to take whatever line they give you and then take a spin on it and actually create a conversation. That's what I had to do, and she had to do every day with our mother. And it put her into such a contented state that she was incredibly happy, very happy, even to her last moment. She was happy, and it's because we understood. These books gave us a lot of knowledge as far as how to handle various behaviors, and it's just I can't say enough about these books.
Yeah, and it's that dance too. We like the dance in our title because Denise was saying, to take our cues from them, to take our cues of knowing who they are, and then to be able to, in this book, Contented Dementia, they talk about the ping pong technique. And that is like when you are tossed a cue, the
Yes.
ping pong, and then Denise was talking about improv. You got to be on your feet, but you don't have to be in a rush, because with dementia, it's good if you actually count to 3 before you react, because there's time for things to soak in with your loved one. So then you know, because of the history, how you can react as you're playing ping pong back. And everybody wants a good game of ping pong. They don't want to have it smashed, but they want to have it be a reciprocal thing.
Reciprocal.
So that's how we dance with it. Was there
I
another
have
one?
yes, there's another book,
Okay.
and this woman is just amazing. And I have to give you a disclaimer. I didn't read the entire book because I saw this book online, and then I was so excited about the reading the intro to it, and then Mom needed more care, and I just dropped all of my reading off, and I just attended to my mother. So, but I contacted the author because I liked it so much, and she was so open to hearing from people, and I just thought this person has given her life to help people. This is a book called The Mindful Caregiver. Do I have it in the frame?
Get Nancy
This is
Kreisman.
Nancy Kreisman, The
Mhm.
Mindful Caregiver, and I do believe she is a gerontologist or a,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
she
read
has-
some of it too. It's very good.
this has so many various it's very practical, and it's
Mhm.
also not just for a person who's caring for someone with dementia,
Mhm.
but it's also if it's cancer or any type
Yeah,
of disease
That's right.
process,
You.
how you as the
Caregiver.
caregiver
Yeah.
can stay healthy. And she also goes into meditation, she goes into music, she goes into all sorts of different philosophies, and it's just an incredible resource,
Yeah.
and I just want to give her a huge thumbs up for writing this and for experiencing this in her life and for being open to people. She's in Atlanta, as far as I know, and I think she sees clients and hires people. I mean, they hire her to help them out, and
Consult.
she's just wonderful. She's doing wonderful work. So, good job.
So we hope that these 4 books that we've shared with, and I'll just put one more book up just to summarize this. These books meant the most to us because they helped us be with Mom on a soul level. And as we've said here at Talk, Walk, and Dance Dementia, we believe that it is the soul having an experience. And we don't believe that the brain is operating the soul, but we believe the other way around, that the soul is functioning the brain and the spirit. So it's a spiritual experience that we're all having. However, when I want to put this book up, it says on the back, the trusted Bible for over 30 years, the 36-hour day. And though we find it somewhat clinical, under its covers, and this is the newest edition, I believe, it has so much basic information about dementia and walking the walk as caregivers with our loved ones. And it goes into how to find a good home for them if you need to move them out of your own home. The basic facts about dementia, how to deal with problems arising in daily care, how to cope with an impaired person's false ideas, suspicion, anger, and other mood problems. And that's where Denise and I liked our adjunct information that we found a little better than something based on 30 years ago. Anyway, but we like the book, I'm just saying. Okay, and how to get outside help with support when you really need it, and financial and legal issues that you must address. So it really is a practical guide, and we did use it as a resource. So
I want to add one more thing too. We're talking about books, but also I really want to give a thumbs up to the Alzheimer's Association because
Yeah.
we needed them badly at one point. And I won't go on and on about the story, but I will tell you that they supplied even a family therapist for us to talk to on the phone and to bring in almost, was it a Skype thing or whatever?
We had a Skype call from different parts of America because the family was not in the same area, of course.
And they literally were really there for us.
Yeah.
So you don't just be. My mother had vascular dementia, but Alzheimer's Association will cover all the dementias and help you out. So I want to really, really give them a thumbs up for that because we needed them. And they were there. They were there.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, we've had a very nice little episode here on, should we say our name again?
Oh, yes.
Talk, Walk, and Dance Dementia. And don't forget our sign off.
And please subscribe. Please subscribe below.
From Shirley, we go,
oh, yes, some mother did this, and thank you so much.